played it very, very, very well indeed.
No more slices for you.
Oh, look at that for judgment.
You'll learn.
Welcome back to Sliced. We are at the end of our first DP World Tour season. DP World Tour Championships come this week, which we'll be talking about. That means the conclusion of our thrilling fantasy game, which will be on the agenda for later as well. And I see here in the notes it's episode 43, so we're closing in on 50. Sam, we've done a decent. It shows you we've done a few extra ones because we only started in January, and things are ticking over nicely. Yeah, I think.
I mean, unfortunately, this is an administrative error from my part, Ben, because it's episode 44, and I've neglected to actually update that at the top. So,
well, let me do that now. There we go.
Thanks.
Well, it underlines the point. We have been busy because we're still, some way from the end of the year. We're already on 44 episodes, so yeah, flying.
Yeah, we have. How's your weekend been anyway, Ben?
Oh, awful. Yeah, we had 3 weeks after our Centre Parks trip was not ruined, but certainly coloured by our youngest being not very well. He's not very well again, but this one's less severe, but it definitely affected our weekend. My son did get man of the match for the second time this season in an 8-all draw, and I must say, as a fan of both his team and Arsenal, it was a slightly frustrating weekend of football because they both should have won, particularly my son's team. But there we are. It doesn't matter. Have to remember that. How about yours?
An 8-all draw. That's what an absolute classic. I mean,
it was. And we had a 4-all draw the previous Sunday. One might argue that some defensive work is needed on the training ground. The previous Sunday was a pulsating 4-all draw, and we thought it had sort of peaked. I think I went on record as saying this is the most I've enjoyed watching one of their games, because I mean that's an important point as well for fellow parents. Like, it's nice when they win like 7-1, but it's like, it's not, you don't really want to see that. What you want is to win 8-7.
Yes.
And unfortunately it was 8-all, but there we are. Referee should have given a late. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, it's considerably better than my son's team, can I say, yesterday. So it was a cup game, and we were playing a team 6 divisions higher than us. And actually, I can't honestly tell you what the score was. It was somewhere between 14-0 and 18-0, and I couldn't tell you. I stopped counting at about 10. But yeah, that combined with Bournemouth losing 4-0 was made it not a great weekend from a footballing perspective.
Well, thankfully, Sam, this is a golf podcast, so we need not talk about football possibly ever again, and certainly until Arsenal hoist that trophy in May. Anyway, let's talk about golf, right? It was a really busy week last week. We've got a busy week this week. Loads to cover. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, let's start with the DP World Tour and the Abu Dhabi Championship. Aaron Rai was the winner in a playoff against Tommy Fleetwood. I caught probably the last maybe 6 holes or so. I think I turned on just as Daniel Hillier and Elvira were making a bit of a mess of the 15th hole, I want to say. And yeah, at that point, it really did look like Tommy Fleetwood was going to win. And Aaron Rai, credit to him, he birdied, was it 2 of the last 3? And then took it to a playoff and birdied the first hole of the playoff. So yeah, I mean I really did think that Tommy Fleetwood was going to win when I turned on. So I was slightly surprised. Aaron Rai, he's obviously won on the PGA Tour relatively recently. It's been a while since he's won on the DP World Tour, and it's his first event in about 7 weeks, I think. So yeah, it was maybe a slight surprise, but what I have noticed, certainly the last 2 years, is the Abu Dhabi Championship does seem to reward accuracy, or someone who is hitting a lot of greens, a lot of fairways, a lot of greens. Paul Waring, Aaron Rai. There's, this is not your kind of classic kind of bomb and gouge test. Not I'm saying that's what the DP World Tour is all about, but there's something slightly different about the test at Yas Links, which I like.
Yeah, I think that probably, as much as anything, is to do with the greens, which are quite severe in places, and it can be hard to keep getting up and down if you're missing them. There's some steep runoffs. The bunkers are pretty penal, so you definitely want to be hitting a lot of greens. Second of Aaron Rai's victories now. Aaron, not sure. in a row that have been in really low scoring conditions, and really you wouldn't think that would play to his strengths. He's sort of meticulously accurate, and I don't know. The putter is the Achilles heel, but obviously it did a real job for him yesterday. I mean, he's not a dissimilar player to Tommy, and obviously it's the second time in a row on the DP World Tour that Aaron Rise won, beating Tommy Fleetwood in a playoff. So I'm sure Tommy's sick of the sight of him. But it just shows you, doesn't it? I thought one of the interesting features of Sunday across the tours was the sort of commentary box talk of Tommy Fleetwood as this, ruthless winner of golf tournaments. And it's sort of like, well, how the tables have turned, It's a couple of months since people were saying, well, this guy's awful at winning golf tournaments. And that's not to say those two opinions were outrageous at the time, but I think Andrew Coulthard said he was impervious to pressure on the 17th hole yesterday, which is certainly not a comment you'd have been able to justify 3 months ago. And I happen not to think it's true, because I don't think any of them are impervious to it. But the point is how much has changed. And yeah, it's golf, isn't it? And, in the end, one of them, whoever didn't win that tournament would have been a bit hard done by. They both did very little wrong. If anything, Tommy's approach to the 18th, his approach to 17 was poor, but he got up and down. His approach to 18 in regulation was not great, but it was fine margins, and the same for my man Nikolai in third, who missed a load of short putts on the back nine yesterday, including for eagle on 18. That was only 12-15 feet. What might have been for him as well, but it's a great renewal of the tournament, and I think one of those tournaments where no one really cares that it's 25 under. I don't think you watch Yaz Links and think this is boring, it's too easy. I don't get that feeling at all, and yet the scoreboard would say it's almost as easy as Mexico was, which is interesting, I think.
Yeah, no, that is a very interesting point, because I was thinking the same, and I don't want to, no offense, Tiger Woods, but I would put the tournament on the PGA Tour among, I'd say, the least enjoyable to watch, just from the perspective of the course. It's just not penal enough off the tee, and like you say, very similar scoring wise to Yaz Links, but just completely different. And I don't get that much enjoyment of watching that type of birdie fest. But yeah, Yaz Links was quite different. And the other thing to note, of course, Ben, was you mentioned Højgaard, but obviously Rory McIlroy was only one shot back in the end, wasn't he? So it could have easily been a kind of a bumper playoff of sort of 4 or 5 players if other things had just gone slightly differently for a couple. Yeah, really, really good tournament. And obviously the top 50 will now move on to the DP World Tour Championship. One player I wanted to call out, which I didn't actually realise until this morning when I looked at his Instagram. So Brandon Robertson-Thompson was actually 51st in the rankings, but is the last man in. And I'm assuming that's because Victor Hovland isn't playing, and therefore that spot nudges down one. But all the same, very good season for him to make it. First season on the DP World Tour, and he's made it straight into the final playoff event.
Yeah, he should be thrilled with that. I'm sure he will be. It's one of those quirks, isn't it? In the FedEx Cup, if the man in 30th decides not to play, or any of the 30, that's just one player fewer in the field in the Tour Championship. In the DP World Tour system, they go to alternates. So there are guys this week, I think Marcel Schneider or someone, I can't remember, as first alternate, might be hoping to get a game.
Yeah.
So, there's pros and cons to that, I suppose. I probably would prefer they just limit it. But in this case, it would have been hard on Brandon Robertson-Thompson to miss out while Victor Hovland chooses not to play. But yeah, you're right. Back to the previous comment, I'm on good form today. Hillier and Elvira were others, weren't they? That they could easily have been there. And for Hillier, we'll come on to the cards in a bit, but 1 or 2 shots from getting inside that top 10 PGA Tour card spot, and that's the second time lately where he's just faltered late on, which is leaves him with one more chance.
That's right. In fact, it was India, wasn't it, where he made a late double bogey. It's exactly the same. So I think it was a double bogey on the 14th in India. It was on the 15th hole yesterday, and on both occasions he looked like he could be right there. So. Yeah,
and he bogeyed 18, didn't he, as well? So that's 6 on 18. That's really 2 shot. I know that it was playing into the wind and a bit tougher, but for a player of his power, he could certainly get there in 2, as Nikolai did. So yeah, it's a couple of costly holes, not just financially, not just in terms of his finishing position in the tournament, but in that bid to get a PGA Tour card. And he's one of those who's really been right in it all year because of that Dubai Desert Classic top 5, I think it was. So yeah, it's going to be close.
Right, PGA Tour. So we briefly talked about it a second ago, but yeah, the Worldwide Technology Championship in Mexico, and Ben Griffin, who was actually sponsored by Worldwide Technology, was the victor. And yeah, I mean, it's been a very impressive season for him. I mean, you look back a year ago, I think he was between 70th and 80th in the world rankings. You certainly wouldn't have looked at him as someone and say, right, he's going to play on the Ryder Cup team and he's going to win 3 times the next year. I mean, he's a solid player, but he's really managed to turn himself into one of the best in the world. I think he's up to something like, I want to say 9th in the world rankings now, or maybe it's 11th. It's extremely high. So, yeah, it was a good win. I mean, he was helped by certainly by Garrick Higo making a double on the back 9. I can't remember which hole it was. 12, I think it was. And a couple of others kind of not really making the charge that they needed, but there were other pressures for those players. People like Carson Young. There's a couple of others I can't remember. Trevor Cohn was another one, wasn't it? So there's a few who were trying to get their cards, keep their cards. So there's a different level of pressure than someone like Ben Griffin. Is essentially a free roll for him.
Yeah, and second year running, one of the ambassadors for the sponsors has won the tournament, and someone who didn't have that pressure of battling for cards, and that's really been the story of this FedEx Fall, as I think they call it, or FedEx Cup Fall, has been that, while we're talking about who's going to get those 500 points and sort of turn their career around or whatever, they've all really gone to guys, apart from Michael Brennan, who didn't, you could argue, didn't need it. That's just one of those things. You want some of these players to turn up at least. He was deadly with the putter, wasn't he, on the back 9? You're right, it was kind of like, I don't know, again, we were talking about Ben Griffin as the sort of pedigree on the leaderboards, and that's an amazing thing to say when it's 6-7 months. Oh, I just said 6-7 by mistake. That's brutal. 6 or 7 months since he was not even a PGA Tour winner. I did laugh a little at this idea that he's now in a very select group of people who've won their first 3 PGA Tour titles in one season. I will admit, I'm a big fan of the Zurich Classic of New Orleans, but when it said 3, I thought, he's only won 2, hasn't he? At best, he's won 2.5. But
I'd be in support of calling it half a victory. I think that's completely fair.
You get 300 FedEx Cup points rather than the 500, don't you? I think so. You get 60% of a victory in the eyes of the FedEx Cup paymasters, but apparently he will go down in history alongside the likes of Scotty Scheffler. So that's cool. But yeah, great performance. We need to talk about Garrick Higo's drop. Sam, what did you think of it?
I mean, it was one of the, I think I've told you this before, Ben. So I'm generally watching the golf with the TV on, with the volume on, and then the golf is muted on the iPad in front of me. So I couldn't really hear anything. I just sort of saw it literally for what felt like about 15 minutes of him sort of dropping a ball and it rolling into a bush and over and over again. So you might have to tell me exactly what happened, but it felt like it went on for an awful long time.
Yeah, it did go on for an awful long time, and I would say it was hard on Carson Young, but he boxed his birdie putt on the same hole, so maybe it didn't affect him. But essentially what happened is he hit it into a plainly unplayable lie, particularly for a left-hander. There was no way he could hit that golf ball unless he went right-handed. Someone in commentary did point out that he's a naturally right-handed. He's one of the fake lefties. He's right-handed by birth. So maybe if he turned his club around and played it right-handed, I'm telling you, there was no way of getting to that golf ball and getting it out of there. But anyway, on that sort of premise, he and his caddy were exploring some animal marks in the mud or whatever it was, and looking at trying to get a free drop. And I have to say, it's not a criticism of Garrick Higo, although I understand he had a similar incident at the Sanderson Farms. Some people would say they'd all do it, and that might be true. But for a lot of them, the only reason if they would all do it, it's because they'd all do it. Do you know what I mean? It's self-perpetuating. There's going to be the next guy comes along and is like, well, if he's going to do it, I'm going to do it. And we need to find a way of cutting this out, because that was absolute nonsense. The ball was not playable. Take your penalty drop. If he'd have been given a free drop there, and credit to the referee, I think it would have been a catastrophe. Like it's just really bad look for the game of golf. It's high and mighty pomposity at times to have people pulling that sort of nonsense. Anyway, then what happened? some might say in a karmic way, was that when you drop it, I think when he's taken his penalty drop, he's got 2 club lengths from where he places his tee pegs in the ground. He's got his area where he can drop it. And then if the ball remains within a certain area when you drop it, no nearer the hole, it's in play. So his ball wandered back towards the horrible stuff. But within the bounds of, often we see players drop it and it runs off and they drop it again and then it runs off and then they get to place it. He was going for that, but it didn't roll far enough. But I believe he then did get the animal relief. Anyway, it was a double bogey in the end, but a completely absurd 15 or 20 minutes of what was quite boring golf tournament anyway.
Yeah.
I switched to the new Sky Atlantic drama at that point. After that, I was in disgust. I could watch no more.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some of the other things that meant. So, Sami Välimäki, you've made a note here that he keeps his card. So, has he basically done enough to keep his card just from that one performance?
Yeah, tied second. He's up to 70-something in the FedEx Cup now. 2 events left. He's safe as houses.
Right.
He will now presumably look to find another similar finish and all of a sudden be in the signature events. But a great effort from Sami. He's one of those, we've all seen the best of him on the DP World Tour, winning in Oman and Qatar and playing lots of good golf, certainly 3 or 4 years ago. But I think there would have been a question mark as to how he gets on the PGA Tour. There's not a Finnish contingent out there. He's the only one. Might be another one soon in Oliver Lindell or whatever, but at the moment he's the only one. And he's done fabulously well. Playing in the category they play out of, even to be 103rd as he was really good. But now to go and seal his card, that's 2 years in a row, isn't it? I think that he's kept his card. So yeah, great effort from the big Finn. Yeah, he's done his military service as well, Sam. I need to make that clear.
Good.
So in Finland, they have military service. He did it age 18 or something. Imagine if you're at war with Finland and big Sami Välimäki comes over the hill. You just down tools immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm turning the other way. Yeah, I'm not getting involved with that. I don't know if I said this to you, Ben, but I think he looks like he could be John Daly's son. There's definitely a similarity. Much more so when he had his longer hair. I see he's had a bit of a trim, but there are definitely similarities to them. I think both in the way they play the game and visually, but that might just be me.
No, I can see it. I can see it.
Also, I want to say credit to Matt Wallace is one I wanted to call out because it's very hard. Aside from obviously you see it with people like Rory McIlroy, but it's very hard for people to keep a card on both sides of the pond. And Matt Wallace is someone who it looks like he's going to do that again. He's just inside the top 100 on the PGA Tour. He's obviously safely kept his card on the DP World Tour. So credit to him. Bjorn Olesen as well is inside the top 100 as it stands. Obviously, there's 2 events left on the PGA Tour, so hopefully they can both stay inside that mark. Right, I'm going to rattle us through some other events that went on last week, Ben. So, Ladies European Tour, it was the Aramco China Championship where Ruxin Liu won. The LPGA, it was the Toto Japan Classic. This was actually shortened due to the weather to 54 holes, and Nasa Hataoka beat Yuna Araki in a playoff. So that was one. It was a bit like the South African Open this year, wasn't it? Where the event had sort of been called off, but then they had to have a playoff between the two players, obviously, which Naidu won. But so Hataoka won that one. Asian Tour, it was the Singapore Open, and Yusuke Asagi won, the Japanese player, and this is significant because he moves into those. We talked about these 2 spots that will get promoted to LIV, and he is now in those top 2 spots alongside Scott Vincent. And there's just the one International Series event to go. Sunshine Tour, we don't normally talk about this, Ben, but I added this one just because, so it was the Hyundai Open and Casey Jarvis won. And obviously, I'm sure many will be familiar with his name because he's been playing on the DP World Tour for a couple of years now. And he's someone who I think we both look at who's got a lot of potential, but he just hasn't quite been able to do the job on the DP World Tour. I'm sure it will happen at some point, but it's his first Sunshine Tour win. And he won by 1 over Ryan van Velzen, who's also played quite a bit on the DP World Tour. So obviously the cream very much rising over on the Sunshine Tour. And then, lastly, let's talk about the DP World Tour Q School Final. So it's obviously in progress at the moment. We're just a bit more than halfway through the 4th round. So there's going to be a cut after this round. As it stands, Xander Lombard leads. Do you want to talk through some of the other players, Ben, that they're thereabouts?
Yeah, he's been brilliant so far. 6 shots clear with 2 rounds to go. And it sometimes I think we fail to recognise that it does matter where you finish. They are ordered by their finishing position here, so there is a re-ranking, but effectively you want to be number one, and I'm sure he'll be pressing down on that. And I think from here he will go on and be the latest sort of classy medalist. But then we've got Conor McKinney, the young Aussie. We've got more experienced players like Matthew Baldwin, Shubhankar Sharma. It's nice to see him in there, and Nathan Kimsey, who we both spoke about, I think, last week and a while ago. We spoke to him at the Belfry this year. Really nice man, and more than capable of winning tournaments on the DP World Tour. So it's players like that I want to see. It's players like him who've got the best chance to overcome the handicap of being a category 20 or whatever they are. Hamish Brown, really nice round from him. He's a promising player. But Davis Bryant as well, shot a third round 62. I hope, he definitely deserves it. Just a couple further down, mentioned Daniel Rodriguez last week. He's in a tie for 10th. Just like to see him on the DP World Tour. But again, part of me thinks, you'd be better off finishing 30th and going to the Hotel Planet Tour for a year. But they all want it, so let's see how they go from here. And one more to call out, Sam, George Coetzee in a tie for 21st at the moment. So you get what you sort of expect with George. There've been a couple of double bogeys in there and a load of birdies. But it wouldn't surprise anyone if he pressed on over the final 2 rounds as the nerves get to others. He seems pretty again, impervious to nerves is not how I'd put it, but he won't be too worried about what the future holds.
He's been there, done that. Yeah, a couple more I wanted to call up, Ben. So Eddie Pepperell, he's in a tie for 21st alongside Coetzee. So hopefully he can do enough. We mentioned him last week, but yeah, he's right there. And the other one I want to talk about, Callum Tarrant. So I logged on quite early on when it started on Friday, and he was 3 over through like 6 holes. I thought this is not going well. And now he's at tie 27th. He was well outside the cut line this morning, actually, and he's had a really good round today. And now he's at tie 27th. So, good charge from him. He's alongside Alex Levy. There's some really good players there who are right on the kind of precipice at the moment. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And again, let me bring out my annual complaint that there's no televised coverage of this, because I would love to watch this. The final round of this, I think, would be a brilliant watch. It would be. I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks that.
You're not the only one. I mean, obviously finishing on a Wednesday, it'd be difficult for some, but they could definitely have it finish on a Saturday if they wanted to. And the other thing worth saying, we've bemoaned the fact that these guys are not going to go and have a full crack at the DP World Tour. They're going to have to piece together a schedule. But the tournaments that are coming up this year, in South Africa, Australia, Mauritius, these guys will be in those fields for the most part. And we've seen it before. I think Johannes Veerman, when he got his card, he almost won at Leopard Creek. You will see some of these guys sort of just roll straight into the new season feeling great and also feeling a sense of urgency. So do keep an eye on who gets those cards. And if it's someone like Callum, actually, I think when Johannes Veerman got his card, he shot like 76 on day one. Obviously, Callum not quite that bad, but guys who've sort of improved as the week's gone on, no shock if one or two of them pop up in the next few weeks at big prices.
Yeah, and I wanted to say on the other end of the leaderboard, a couple of notes to make. So you mentioned Matt Southgate. Unfortunately, he's withdrawn. He wasn't getting on very well, so he will be one to miss the cut. A few others who are going to miss the cut: Nick Batcham, Clement Sorday, Ollie Wilson, Justin Harding, Lucas Beauregard. But I did want to say this. It's not the end of the world if you miss the cut, because here are some names who missed the cut last year in final stage. Renato Paratore, he's obviously gone and won 3 times on the Hotel Planet Tour. JC Ritchie has won 3 times on the Hotel Planet Tour this year. James Morrison, we've seen what he's done in the last couple of weeks. Freddie Schott, David Horsey. These are players who've gone on to do big things this year on the Hotel Planet Tour, and in Freddie Schott's case, he's got himself back onto DP World Tour. So it's not the end of the world, but obviously depends partly on previous status and things. But yeah, a lot to monitor in those last 2.5 rounds. Let's talk quickly about the race for the PGA Tour cards, Ben. So there's been no changes to the 10 players from what happened in Abu Dhabi. So the top 7, I would think, I don't know if you agree with this, Ben, but I think would surely be safe at this stage. And then it's just so last three at the moment, 8th, 9th, and 10th, Daniel Brown, Keita Nakajima, and Jordan Smith. And the last three who are on the outside at the moment, first three are on the outside. You've got Martin Kuvra, Daniel Hillier, and Rasmus Nergaard Peterson. Now, I've done a little bit of digging on this, Ben, as you've done previously. So, and I've worked this out. So, let's say Martin Kuvra, who's the first man out at the moment, would finish 10th. That would be 240 points. And if Jordan Smith was to finish 32nd, that would be 100 points. And that would be enough for Kuvra to leapfrog him. Sort of relatively similar situation with Hillier, I suppose, but then he'd obviously need Kuvra to play badly as well as Smith, so it gets that bit more unlikely. And then Rasmus Nergaard Peterson, I think at this stage, I reckon he's going to need at minimum a top three and a mediocre week for the likes of Kuvra, Hillier, and Smith. So it's looking unlikely, I would say, for Rasmus at this stage. Any comments, Ben, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, nicely summed up. I don't think there'll be a lot of movement. I would say minimum 8, probably 9, and if not 10 of those currently occupying card spots will get them. It's a little bit more spread out than it was coming in last year. Now, that being said, there are people here further down than even Rasmus Nergaard Peterson. If they win the tournament, that's a heck of a lot of points you're getting. So, there is scope for that to happen, but obviously the guys who are currently projected to get cards have got Rory McIlroy batting for them and Tommy Fleetwood batting for them and so on and so forth. They're going to take up a heck of a lot of points. We saw it last year. Tom McKibben, Antoine Rosner were those sort of in the mix right through to the end. I think Romain Langasque a couple of times in recent years been right there. Pavon got his card, didn't he, with that burst of scoring at the end. I hope we get something like that in a sense because it's dramatic, providing it's well covered on TV. The flip side is I find it hard. The 10 that are currently projected, I quite want them to remain because I'll tell you why. Daniel Brown, just a fabulous story this year, to overcome some personal tragedy and win in Germany, but also play so well really since then. Keita Nakajima, he said when he won the Indian Open last year, this was his dream to get to the PGA Tour. He missed out last year. I think he's ready. And Jordan Smith, I mean, he was basically robbed by Tom McKibben's decision not to take the card coming later than the deadline. If Tom McKibben had decided immediately he didn't want to go to the PGA Tour, the card would have gone to Jordan Smith. It was really cruel, really cruel. And we all know Jordan Smith can go out there and compete. Martin Kuvra, we've said it before, it just feels a year too soon for me, maybe 2 years too soon. Daniel Hillier, he's there because of a couple of big weeks. He's playing very well now again, but really so much of what he's done, he's not played as well as Rasmus Nergaard Peterson, who he's ahead of, and I think that sums it up for me. So, people will say, the best 10 players. It's not the best 10 players. It's a version of that. But actually, the 10 we've got now might be the 10 who are sort of most deserving and most ready. And I think I want to see them do well as a cohort. So I wouldn't be against it staying.
I'll give you another reason that I hope it stays. So, Ben, I'm having a weekend away with some friends in Bath this weekend.
This is ridiculous.
I know. It's a bit of freak year, but
Sure.
Anyway, I'm going to Bath, and just imagine the scenes in Bath if both Jordan Smith and Laurie Cantor get their PGA Tour cards. I mean,
they will be hanging off. The
Town Centre will erupt.
It will erupt in a sort of
City Centre,
understated way. City Centre, very good. Yeah. They'll be downing pints at the Rec.
Exactly. Right. In the news, Ben, there's actually quite a lot, but we're going to have to be reasonably quick on this. So the big news, I suppose, is that LIV announced that they're going to expand their format from 54 to 72 holes over 4 days. One thing I wanted to call out, because I feel like I feel like maybe people are slightly disappointed here. A lot of people are saying, well, this is obviously, they're trying to get OWGR points, and this is obviously their way of trying to do this. I'm just going to point out what I think maybe not many people have pointed out, in that there's other tours around the world who have 54-hole formats that get world ranking points. So I don't personally think that's the blocker for LIV. I don't think that's been the blocker. I'm talking about the Clutch Tour and the Tartan Tour for 2.
And LIV's former partners, the mysteriously disappeared Mina Golf Tour. That partnership couldn't have gone any worse, could it?
What became of the Mina Tour? Well, I did have something I wanted to read out as well. So this is from a regular listener who's often messaging in. And I thought it was worth talking about. So this is Andrew Summers, and he's got a theory, which I thought was worth calling out. He says just a theory, but he makes the same point about the fact that he doesn't think it's to do with the 54 holes. But he thinks that they may move to what they're going to do is actually have a sort of 18-hole team tournament and then a 54-hole individual tournament, which will obviously make 72 combined. But what that'll mean is you don't have this conflicting team and individual event, which I think some have cited as might be the problem, in that players are kind of, it comes to a point where actually you're more focused on how your team is doing because you're not going to win anything in the tournament yourself. I don't know.
It's an interesting theory. I don't imagine that happening, but it's a good call out that the team element has been part of the problem for OWGR. I think there was a very early quote, and I can't remember it now, from Sebastian Munoz, where he talked about how he wasn't thinking about his own performance. It was about,
right,
almost like par. I just need a par here. If it was just for me, I'd go and try and make birdie, but I just need a par for the team, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that is, that's one of the many things that are complicated about trying to sort of ascribe the correct number of OWGR points. As ever, I'll shout out Rob Ops on X, who's done, that's at ROBOPZ, I think, who's done some really great work in sort of bringing to life what we should expect this to look like and visualizing that. I think it's probably necessary for them to get OWGR points. Certainly, if OWGR is to continue. It brings me back, really, and I know this won't surprise you, but it brings me back to wondering, what is the point of it? Like, what is the point of LIV Golf if they're not different? Because the team events, complete nonsense. They're not. They're just adding up people's scores. It's just not. You could do that any week if you want. Okay, last week England won the Abu Dhabi Championship because if you add up Fleetwood and Rye, the best two Englishmen, they've won. Well done. It doesn't mean anything except they get a bit more money. But it brings me back to, what's the point of it? And I know people who like it, and they're well within their rights to like it. A lot of the popularity comes, such as it is, comes overseas. And they would argue, well, the point is to make golf global. And they would argue that LIV has done great things in that area. I'd say they've done some really great things, but not anywhere near to the extent, such as the international series. It's not as transformational as some people would argue. But getting Bryson DeChambeau to India, big, okay? But I still wonder, what is the point of it? And is that, obviously, that the price is worth paying if you are in one of those territories where you feel golf has been not for you and now it is. I do get that, and I would very much say that the PGA Tour have neglected golf outside the United States. But we do have the DP World Tour, and that's really good. And that works in sort of partnership with the PGA Tour. And that went to Australia before LIV went to Australia, and it will go to Australia again in a couple of weeks. It went to India. It's been to Korea. It's been to Malaysia. It's been to, pretty much anywhere they play golf. The DP World Tour or the PGA Tour has been. So I'm not satisfied by that either as a validation for it. So we come back to, this is fundamentally harmed men's professional golf. And for what? It's not for a new format, so that's out the window. So we're losing things that it was about, and we'll eventually be left with one thing that it's about. It's always been about, and that's sports washing. And and that's always going to be the case, and it's why it will never win. It will never win. Doesn't matter how much money they've got.
Well, certainly if it's gradually losing the uniqueness, the 54-hole was one of the uniqueness about it. I suppose it's still got a shotgun start, if that's unique enough. I don't know. But yeah, team event has been a hard one for a lot of people to kind of get on board with, and I suspect will remain to be the case.
I read somewhere the shorts are going as well. I'm not sure if that's true. Are the shorts going? Have you heard about this?
I haven't heard the shorts are going.
Maybe I've been fooled. No. But if they get rid of the music in the shorts, it's just the same, isn't it? It's just golf. It's golf. It's not as good. Golf, but not as good. That should be the slogan. Sticking
on LIV quickly. So Bob Harrigan, Sports Illustrated, so he came up with the report on this. So the PGA Tour are going to deem the LIV Promotions event in Florida in January as unauthorized, which means that players could be subject to bans. And this is not just players who currently play on the PGA Tour or the Corn Ferry Tour. This could be someone who has never played on any of these tours. but they would be banned for a year if they did play this LIV promotions event and then attempt to play on the PGA Tour thereafter.
It's quite tempting to sort of stump up the cash to go and enter the LIV event. I don't know if they must have some restrictions on ability, else we could go for content.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Probably not. But if they didn't, it must be tempting to stump up the cash so that you can just say, well, actually, I'm banned from playing PGA Tour events. That's quite a cool thing to have on your CV. I mean, obviously, it's utterly laughable that the PGA Tour bans non-members. Like they did it to Laurie Cantor, they've done it to Shakara and Wiesberger and whoever. It's just laughable, and they need to grow up. And hopefully, Rolap will change the rules. It's just stupid. But on this specifically, I guess my question is: do you think LIV knew this and have gone ahead, and if so, why? What were the factors in that calculation, or do they really not know something most people, anyone who's looked at PGA Tour Player Handbook, would have known? Did LIV not know this? Because the assumption is that the field won't be as good now, and if so, are LIV doing that to score points, or have they cocked up? That's my question.
I honestly don't know, but I mean, surely, like you say, they must have known because it's come up before, hasn't it? But I don't know. Maybe internal communication has broken down, and the person who's decided that it's going to be, in Florida in January has not got the memo about that. I don't know.
Why? But the thing is, like, why would you hold it in Florida if you know that like Korn Ferry Tour and PGA Tour players are largely not going to play? Like, what's the point of being in Florida? You just want like that guy who wins all the minor golf league events to turn up. Sonny Kim, is that it? You want him to turn up? It's bizarre.
Eric Cole, he's the one who meant.
Yeah, he's not going to come, is he? I mean, it will make it interesting to see who does turn up for it, but it's surely nobody with a PGA Tour card. But also, I would say no one with a Korn Ferry Tour card. So then, maybe with an America's Tour card, but probably not.
Can I just put a wager on someone who I definitely think is going to be in the field, Ben?
James Hahn, Wesley Bryan, George Bryan.
Robert Garrigus.
Sure, of course he is.
Yeah. But also the two you mentioned as well.
He's probably still got past champion status. He's going to get banned. He's not going to be able to play Corrales Punta Cana, Sam, if he turns up. Tough decision.
Right, one more LIV point before we move on. So this is one is per Sean Zack of golf.com. So LIV has applied for 3 new trademarks, and they are Becco East Golf Club, Southern Belindi Golf Club, and Real Club de Toros Golf Club. Now, the common assumption here is the latter, Real Club de Toros, is going to be a rebrand for Sergio Garcia's Fireballs, which might make sense. Southern Belindi. Now, Belindi is a small town north of Kolkata in India, so this could potentially be a first sort of Indian team, I suppose. I mean, you've got Lahiri currently playing on the Crushers, so maybe he leaves the Crushers and forms a new team and recruits some young Indian players. I don't know. Becco East, no one has a clue what this is. It's not. There's no place called Becco.
Is James Meyer de Becco, the Belgian, about to get his own team? The prolific Pro Golf Tour winner is about to get his own team.
Wow! Imagine. Maybe Adrian Demont de Chassart would join him. No, he definitely wouldn't. This is spelled differently, unfortunately, Ben. I know you're obviously joking, but
answer me this, Sam. Why a small town in India? Why not Delhi G? Obviously, Delhi GC is an actual golf club, but Belindi G.
That's why. That's why. They've all
a small town in India.
Well, it just just sounds good. I don't know. Southern Belindi's got a ring to it. I don't know.
Somewhat, I don't know. But Southern Belindi. It's not just a small town. It's a very specific part of a small town. It's like having Southern Loughborough Golf Club. I'm sure Belindi is bigger than my hometown, but
Northern Belindi has already got a TGL team, so that one was taken.
Very good. I mean, I hope we don't seem like we're ignorant here. I just don't. I'd love to know why so sort of macro specific in geographical terms. Like, what is it about the southern portion of Belindi?
It may not even relate to that town. It could just be a coincidence. I mean, people are trying to put 2 and 2 together with these names, but anyway, as usual, a watching brief. Two more things very quickly before we move on to the world of golf this week. So the LPGA has announced a collaboration with Golf Saudi and the LET. So it's going to be the PIF Global Series event in Las Vegas in April. I think this is significant in the fact that it's the first time the LPGA has teamed up with the PIF or Gulf Saudi in any terms. And obviously the LET Aramco Series has been around for a little while. But yeah, any comments on that, Ben?
No, it's been coming, hasn't it? Probably taken longer than I expected. It seems all talk of a LIV. When LIV came out, it was like, yeah, and I don't know if any LIV official said it or Greg Norman or anything like that, but there was definitely talk of, well, this is the start, and there'll be a women's league soon. Mm-hmm. There's no talk of that, is there? But yeah, it's another move in that direction potentially.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether that becomes sort of several events over the course of the next couple of years. But yeah, starting out with just the one in Las Vegas, so we'll see there. And then the last thing to mention, per James Corrigan of the Telegraph, Justin Rose is set to officially withdraw his name as a Ryder Cup captain candidate. I think that's something that we'd kind of seen coming. He'd sort of, he'd alluded to that in press conferences. He basically said, look, if I feel like I'm good enough as a player, I don't want to even start thinking about that until the point that I feel like I'm done as a player, in terms of being able to compete at Ryder Cup level. So maybe not a surprise, but interesting, and it does certainly it brings that pool down to not many players really. You're basically looking at Luke Donald, Francesco Molinari, Eduardo Molinari possibly. I don't think that he's really a candidate, or Podrick Harrington maybe, and that's probably about it, right?
Yep, agree. I think if it's not Luke, it'll be Francesco with Dodo in support. Obviously worth saying that Rose, the door would definitely be open if it doesn't work out for Rose to sort of be a vice captain and get a look at things that way. I would say that's definitely on the agenda if he doesn't play as well as he'd like to. So
yeah, I think it's worth noting here that I suppose the reason that he feels like he's got to withdraw his name, it generally happens. I think last time it was around about March, sort of the year before. So we're probably only talking 4 months away from the point they're going to announce that captain. So it's getting towards a time. I mean, it's all very well sort of saying, well, you don't know. In a year's time, maybe things have dropped off, but you got to make the decision quite early on. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, good point.
Right, World of Golf this week. Got to be reasonably quick on this, but yeah, it's a DP World Tour Championship, as you mentioned. So it's a top 50 in the rankings. Top 51, including the notorious BRT. And yeah, this is what else are we going to talk about here, Ben? So we were going to talk about some of the players who we think have done well to make it, weren't we? Jakob Skov-Olesen. I mean, let's talk about him. I mean, he was playing out of the sort of category that made it very hard for him to achieve what he has achieved. Now, what he did was he got a couple of really good early results on the board, which enabled him to then get more starts to sort of improve his ranking, essentially. And that's the big thing. That's the key thing for some of the players who are in Q School final this week, who make it through. That's what they've got to do, basically. Some others, Kazuma Kobori, Oliver Lindell, BRT, as you mentioned, Angel Ayora and Elvis Smylie. I think those are some of the ones who've done really well this year to make it through to the top 50. Any additions to that, Ben? Yeah,
no, I think you've called them out, really. Anyone who started the year on a Hotel Planner Tour or Q School category to muscle in among proven DP World Tour winners and some world-class golfers is a phenomenal achievement. I'm sure for some of them it's sort of the target, For Angel Ayora, it might have been like, I just want to make it to Dubai. If I do that, it's been a good year. And for him, unless he goes ahead and wins this week, he'll be on the DP World Tour next year. He could win this week, but he'll be on the DP World Tour next year, and it's money in the bank, isn't it? And onwards and upwards. So, yeah, I'm sure all of those guys will be toasting a great year, and they'll then face a difficult question, like, when do you want to go again? Because it's a long year. Like, some of them might feel that they've done enough to justify putting the clubs away until after Christmas. Others will feel, well, if I go and win the Mauritius Open like John Parry did, I'm a quarter of the way to a PGA Tour card in December. So...
and I think this is where a lot of the time it comes down to a kind of sort of age and sort of family stuff, really. I mean, for someone like Jakob Skov-Olesen, I mean, he's a young player. Same with Ayora, really. They're both very young players. Obviously don't have children or anything like that. For them, it's not. I'm guessing less of a big deal for them to sort of jet off to Mauritius and play that event, but. Someone else who's I don't know if any of the players we've mentioned have got kids, but if you're in a situation where you've got a couple of young kids you don't see much of in the year, then you completely understand if they want to just pack up the clubs for 6 weeks 2 months or whatever, and just properly take some time off and recharge. You're in that position. You can afford to do that. But yeah, that's we'll see who decides to get back out there straight away. The PGA Tour is in action this week. It's the Butterfield Bermuda Championship, so it's the penultimate event of the season. A couple of ones to call out here. So I was surprised to not see Joel Damon in the field, because he's currently at, I think it's 111th when I looked in the rankings. Obviously, you need to be in the top 100 to keep your card. 2 events left. Obviously last year he kept his card right at the end at the RSM Classic, and it looks like he's going to have to do the same again. And I did wonder why he made that decision. I mean, he missed the cut this time last year in Bermuda, and maybe thought the tournament, the course doesn't suit me. I'm just going to really put all my efforts into the RSM. But it feels like a bit of a gamble.
It's a huge gamble. Yeah, if that I can own, to the extent I find it absolutely bewildering. So maybe he's injured or something. I don't know, but it seems madness, absolute madness, to not go there. Even before we get to the fact that it's broadly similar tests to when he won in Puerto Rico and stuff. Corrales Punta Cana. Really strange. I just wanted to call out as well Tom Kim, and the reason I'm mentioning Tom Kim, Martin Matthews, good friend of ours, asked you and me, maybe just you. I definitely saw it this morning, why Tom Kim's exemption runs beyond this year, because it's a couple of years since he won. When you win multiple times, if you're currently exempt, you get a year added on. So when he won the Shriners, it would have been like he's already got a couple of years and he gets another year on top of that. So I haven't looked and I can't remember the years in which he won, but I would imagine Tom Kim's exemption runs out at the end of next season rather than this one.
That's correct.
Yeah. So someone like Max Homer has got like 5 years worth of exemptions, way more than you would think, for when he last won.
Yeah, it was interesting because I didn't actually realise this. I've got to be honest, Ben. I don't know if this has changed, or maybe I didn't realise it. But I kind of thought you win an event and then you've got two year exemption after that point. I didn't realise it's stacked.
They stacked. So I think Francesco Molinari's one with, obviously he's got like a different category for his major win and stuff and career money and that now, I guess. But I'm sure Francesco's got like another year maybe on, because of he won the Open, then he won the Arnold Palmer or whatever it was. So yeah, they do stack. They don't stack like you don't get 2 years for each one.
No,
else we'd never see the back of Jim Herman, would we?
They don't stack on the DP World Tour though. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, they don't. I don't think they do. They're all, but they do vary according to purse size. So that's why I think we talked about it. Guys like, what's his name, the American who got his card by holding out in Korea, Jordan Gumberg. He only had a year exemption for winning a low key event. So they do vary by size of purse.
Yeah, right. 3 other events just to quickly talk about. So the LPGA is the Annika, which is the Annika driven by Gamebridge at Pelican. To give its full title. The Asian Tour is the Taiwan Glass Taifong Open. So this isn't international series, just a standard Asian tour. And the Australian Tour, it's a relatively significant event on their schedule. It's the Ford New South Wales Open, where Lucas Herbert is in the field. He's the defending champion. Very quick mention of our player tracker, Ben. Ayora was tied 9th last week. Very good performance. And Smylie, having actually been in contention for large parts of the week, ended up with a disappointing tie for 32nd, which unfortunately is all but put paid to his PGA Tour chances.
This for me is the fascinating storyline of the week, Sam. That our player tracker selections are Elvis Smylie in 20th on 1,640 points. And Angel Ayora closing all the time on 1,589 points. Ooh. He is a mere 51 points behind in 23rd on the race to Dubai. I mean, fantastic picking from both of us, I'm sure you'll agree. But also, I mean, this is it. It's basically who finishes higher this week. You've got a couple of places head start, but not much.
See, what we should have done is had some sort of, people do these things when they do their fancy football leagues where there's like a forfeit for the loser. That's what we should have done. Maybe we do that next year.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm not dressing up as, Greg Norman and walking around the local village pubs.
Damn, that's exactly what I had.
You get any ideas?
That's exactly what I had in mind. Okay, you'll have to be someone else. Maybe you can be Sami Välimäki instead.
Very good.
Right. Fancy update very quickly. So this is obviously, we're right at the end of the season. So whoever wins this week gets the prize that no one wants, Ben. They get to play a round of golf with me and you. And I can tell you the standings at the moment. In first place currently is Michael Atkin. Second place, and not very far behind, is David McFarlane. And third place, and still in touch, is Jonathan Case.
Detective Inspector Jonathan Case. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
DI Jonathan Case.
Can I hear your 6 picks, please, Ben?
Of course you can, because I have them right here in front of me, Sam. Rory McIlroy, Tommy Fleetwood, Marco Penge, Matt Fitzpatrick, Nicolai Højgaard and Laurie Cantor. And in a tribute to our card-winning, first-ever sliced guest, Laurie Cantor's the captain this week. We wish him
what a lovely touch.
It is, isn't it?
Okay, very similar. I think we've got a crossover of 4 there. So, yeah, Tommy Fleetwood, Rory McIlroy, obviously a 3-time winner of this event. Marco Penge, it is his debut, but I think it will suit very well. Nicolai
Third
Højgaard.
longest course on the DP World Tour, Sam. Just wanted to get that out there. There's only 3 that go beyond 7,700. This is one of them.
Good stat. Okay. Nicolai Højgaard, I think he was one of your picks as well, so he won this event the year before last. Keita Nakajima, tied 7th last year, played very well last week. I could see it happening. And lastly, Daniel Hillier. He has become a Middle East specialist, I detect. And obviously, we mentioned he's been in contention in 2 of his, in his last 2 events, isn't he? So I could see him doing something. But yes, that leads on nicely to.
It's the highest bidder. It's the highest bidder. It's the highest bidder. It's the highest bidder.
Told myself I wasn't going to cry at our end of the DP World Tour season, Sam, but I was close there. I was close.
Right. Inkblot Sports, Philip Myers has been in touch.
They're always hard. They're always hard. Okay.
Okay. You're going first on this one, Ben, so I have a chance to outbid you right at the end.
Can you win the season-long battle if you win this one?
No, not
Just
even
want to
close.
clarify that.
Not even close.
Good.
There are 14 players under the age of 50, not necessarily active, it says in brackets, with at least 3 runner-up finishes on the PGA Tour, but no wins.
Okay. There are 14 of them.
Yeah.
Under 50. Okay. 7. I'll have a go at 7.
7? Wow.
I have
Damn.
no idea who these 7 are going to be.
I mean, I was all prepared to outbid you there, Ben, but 7 is a lot. I'm gonna let you go. Go out on a high.
Okay. I think Max Grayserman is already one of them, right?
Let me see if we've got the answers here.
It's got to be Max Grayserman.
Well, he hasn't actually put the answers down, which is going to make it tricky. But I'll see if I can find it on Google.
Well, if you just do his OWGR profile, click best performances, and if you see 3 number 2s next to with the letters PGA-T next to them,
you've done this before, Ben.
So I'm going with Max Grayserman. I
correct.
I have to assume Cameron Tringali is one of these.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he's not. Okay.
Bo Van Pelt. Bo Van Pelt.
Bo Van Pelt. I would assume you're probably right there.
Hold on. He's 50. Wait. He's 50. Famously.
No, I
thought he said under the age of 50.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Oh, shit. Okay, Bryony Baird's going to be over 50 as well, isn't he? So that's that scuppered. Jeff Overton is not yet 50, so I'm going to go with Jeff Overton. Under the age of 50, 3-time runner-up.
It's a hard one.
I mean, 7 was stupid. Given that I'd immediately noted down a 50-year-old and the question said under the age of 50, this was clearly.
You have Jeff Overton. Yeah, good.
Okay. Do you know what? I think it's only twice, but Nicolai Højgaard was runner-up to Matt Wallace in the Corrales Punta Cana and to Mattia Pavon at Farmers. So maybe he's a 3-time runner-up.
Oh, wait, hold it. Would you count the Zurich Classic as well? Because weren't they runner-up?
Yeah, look, if it counts for Ben Griffin, it's good enough for me. Thank you very much. Nicolai Højgaard, we are having it.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm in trouble here, aren't I?
Hold it. Wait. Farmers Insurance Open, I'm going back here.
Corrales Punta Cana to Matt Wallace. I'm sure he was second to
Oh,
Matt
yes,
Wallace.
correct. Yeah, it doesn't mention the Zurich Classic on OWGR, but I mean, yeah, it's
Of course
fine.
it wouldn't, but it counts. Between friends, it counts.
Yeah, okay, fine. You can have it.
I'm struggling now, Sam, I'll be honest. I'm trying to think of habitual bridesmaids. I'm going through the live roster in my head, actually, but it's not any more of those. Habitual bridesmaids on the PGA Tour. Oh, let's go for Brian Davis.
Ooh, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, we're going to go for Brian Davis.
Okay, we have got the Colonial St Jude Championship. Right, yes, very good, excellent. He's had 5 of them.
I'm just.
How many have you got?
I think I might have 5.
Right.
Joverton, Grazeman, Tringali, Nikolai, and Brian Davis. Right. I had a better one in my mind, but it's gone now. So I'm gonna have to go with, and now I've forgotten that one as well. Who was second yesterday? Sami Välimäki is not. Or Sammy's been second twice, but not 3 times, I don't think. Who was second with Sammy yesterday? Carson Young. In the end, was it? Yeah. You see, I think he's been second twice, but both in the. No, I'm going to say him because I think he might have been second in Puerto Rico as well. Carson Young.
Carson Young, worldwide.
He's been second in the
Technology
Mexico Championship 2 years running, the WWF, whatever it's called. Has he been second in the Puerto Rico Open as well? Or have I made that up?
No. He was tied third at the Puerto Rico Open.
Mate, that's harsh. Okay.
I'm generous, but not that generous, Ben.
No, rightly so. We're running out of time. There was one more I had in my mind, and Adam Schenk. Adam Schenk.
How to hit a shank with Adam Schenk. A good video, by the way.
Adam Schenk's a good shout, I think. Maybe.
We have got the Charles Schwab Challenge, the Valspar, and I think that's it, I'm afraid, Ben. Yeah, he's had a runner-up on the Corn Ferry, a couple of runners-up on the Corn Ferry, but not... yeah. So I'm tempted to steal in here, and I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that my good friend Benny Ann might be one such player.
Seems like a great shout. Definitely the Wyndham. Definitely when he lost the playoff at the Memorial. He's got to have another second in there somewhere, hasn't he? Well done.
I'm going to have a look. Memorial, Sony, Canadian, Zurich.
Definitely the Wyndham.
Wyndham.
Oh, that's a lot, isn't it?
That means I get...
Do you know what? I did all right there, but well done. You had a good one that I just did too high, clearly.
A point to finish.
Great category. Could you read out the final score, please, Sam?
Okay, yeah. The final score, you got 87 points, and I got 47 points.
Oh, that's not that bad.
That's pretty bad. Or pretty good for you. Well done. Yeah, we need to decide the fate of highest bidder and several other things before we kind of launch again for our second series, which is going to be quite soon, actually, if we're tying it in with the DP World Tour season.
Next Monday, I believe.
Yeah. But as ever, thank you for joining us. Please do leave a rating or review if you haven't already. It does massively help us. And we look forward to chatting next week.